Hi, this is Scott from Fresh Solutions, and in this video, I'm going to show how to grab some records from a related database table and display them on a screen in Presto using the ExecuteSql function in concert with the visual editor. So, first thing I'm going to do, obviously, is sign in. Now, I'm using the demo library that's shipped with Presto, so you should have this on your screen and you should be able to follow along on your system. I'm going to add the library Excel_pure demo and then call pt_menu. Now I've got the example set up, but I'll walk through how I built this and the components involved. And we're going to take the orders program, and when you click on an order number, it will show the order details just beside the orders subfile listing. So I'm going to go to here, and you can see we've got our list of orders, and I'm going to click on one of the order numbers. And how you choose to bring up the order details, I've added an item to the flyout menu. So on this screen, there's 3 subfile options the user can take, a 2, a 4, and a 5. And those are here, change, delete, and display. Now, I've added this order details. That wasn't originally part of the flyout, but I've included it now. And when the user selects that, you can see that they get a list of items that have been added to this order. And it's not quite showing it all on my screen. But we can see that there's a number of columns there. And if I was to choose a different item number or order number, then we'll get the related order details for that. So great. So that's the idea, and this display can be done in a number of different ways. This is the simplest and fastest way. It could put it in a modal window and display it in another way, but this is how we're going to do it today. So there's 3 components to adding this to your screen. So one of them is an SQL statement that we need to have to be able to go out to our records and get the related items. We need to go into the visual editor and add a container that's going to contain the results from the query when we click on the order number. And then we've got some JavaScript that helps us to put it all together, if you will. So I'll walk through each of those. So I'm going to go first of all and take a look at the SQL query. So I'm just going to go to Tools and SQL Queries. Now I've got this query built already, and to build it, you'll need to go down to the Manage button to add a new query. And from here you can choose Add. Okay. And I've already added mine, so I won't do that, but I'll close it. But let's just take a look at the query real quickly here. One of the things we're going to want to take note of is the name of the query. Now I use ExecuteSql on the end because that's where I'm going to use it. Now if I was using this query in a drop-down, I would usually put a DD on the end, or an autocomplete. I might put an AC on the end, but this just helps me when I've got a large list of queries. I can tell sort of what this was built for, because that can make a difference on how the data is returned. Okay, so moving on from that, I'm going to take note of the name. Very simple query. I'm going to select some fields and some columns, and I'm giving them an alias. Now when I add the as number, line number, etc., this is what will show up on the table header that's displayed. So if I just go back to the active page, we can see instead of having the names of the fields that are in the database table, I've got the names that I've given them. So that makes it nice and easy later on. You don't have to rebuild those to make them readable for the end users. So other than that, it's a pretty straightforward query. And the one thing to note here is that we do have a parameter. So I need to know which order I'm getting the line items for. So in this case, we do need to remember what we use as the name for our parameter, which you can see is starts with a starts with a colon at the beginning, and that'll tell Presto that this is going to be a parameter. Okay, and if you want, you can always test your query. And if you've got a parameter, it's going to ask you to enter the value. I think this might be one here. And yeah, you can see that I can get some values here. So you can always test your query here as you build them. Okay, great. So we've got our query. I've got my name and I've got my parameter. I'm just going to close that tab for now. Now the next thing I'm going to want to do, I'm just going to just refresh my screen here. Next thing I want to do is to go into the visual editor and add the container. Now this is pretty straightforward, so I'll just do open my visual editor. I've already got mine built here, and you can see I've just got one container, one visual editor change, and I've got a class associated with it. So I've added a div. Now to add this, if you're not familiar, you can do right click, insert, and you can do containers and block container. So that's going to add a div to your screen. Here it is, and I've just taken it and I've expanded it out to the size that I want, and I've added the class name. Now this can be whatever class name you like. You just need to remember what that is. So I'm going to remove this because I already have it on my screen, the one that I need. So and that's it. That's all you need to do. So you resize it, give it a class, and that's it. So perfect. I'm going to close out of here. I'm not going to save anything. Great. Okay. So those are the two quick parts, other than maybe building your query. And the third part to kind of tie this all together is the JavaScript. And this is going to have a few lines of code in here, but I'm going to step through this and go through each component here, so you've got an idea of what's here. So let me back up. If you're not familiar with creating page level JavaScript, this would say create here, but I've already got it, so it says edit. So if you don't have something on the page already, you just click create and it will take you to a blank page. So taking a look at the script that's running within here, it looks like quite a bit, but it's really doing three things. So this function here is building that flyout option, and it's also applying the event handler, so when the user clicks on it, it will run the ExecuteSql. It'll run the SQL. And this function down below is exactly what it looks like. It's going to execute that SQL function. And then at the very end here, we've got this event handler for the page complete. So when the page is loaded, or visual editor changes are done, we're going to run all of the bits up above. So let me just step through this real quickly so you've got an idea. And if you're doing this on your system, you can copy this, but you're going to need to change some of the code in here. So the first bit's building the flyout menu option. Now this is going to be fairly standard, other than what it is that you've got within here, whether it's order details or something else. So this is what's going to display on that flyout menu. This piece here, this flyout index, this is how we're going to know which of the elements that we're associating with. So which flyout menu option the user's clicking on. Okay, so after that, we're going to build our event handler. So this is what the code that allows the click action to happen, and we're preventing any previous handlers that are on this menu item, and because we're going to do our own thing, if you will. And now this piece here on line 22, this is specific to this screen. So if you're doing this on your screen, you're going to need to adjust this line of code so that it's pointing to and grabbing the value for your query. Okay, so let's just take a look at this real quick. We've got, when the user hovers over it, we're getting the input that it was triggered off of. So this is the input here, and what we're doing is we're getting the parent table cell, and then we're moving to the next table cell. So we're traversing over to the next table cell. In this case, it has our order number, and we're just getting the container that the order number's in, which is a span, and we're just getting the value from it. So we're using the input, moving up a level to the table cell, moving over one, and then back down into that cell to get the value. So let's take a look at the page to see what that looks like. All right, so here's the input. Now it's getting the parent TD, which is here, and then we're traversing to the next parent TD, which is here, and then we're going in and getting the value from its child span tag, which is the order number. Now, if you've got an order number that's way down here, or the key to the query is going to be down here, or in one of the other cells, you'll need to adjust this line of code here to reflect that traversing to another location. And there's a number of functions with jQuery that can help you do that. It can be, and our support can help you figure that out as well. If you need a hand, just give us a call. So once we've got our order number, this is really the key. Then we can pass it into our query and run that. So that's what this function, we're calling this function here, load order details, and we're passing in that query, that order number. The ExecuteSql function that ships with Presto, there's a couple of pieces here that are of interest. The HTML format is what delivers the results of the query in that table that we're seeing. So we don't need to do anything other than choose format HTML, and it'll display as we saw it on the screen there. Now this is the name of the query that we noticed, that we built, and here we've got our parameters. And this is how you show some parameters, and we've got the order number that we're passing in. We're assigning it to order number, which probably could have been named a little bit differently, so it was more clear. Sorry about that. But this here is the one that's in the query. So the colon order number, this needs to be the same as that. And once the SQL has been executed and it's returned, it returns in this data parameter here. And then this, what this is saying, this is the class that we gave the block container in our visual editor, and we're returning the data into that div. And so this is really just populating that container that we added using the visual editor. And that's almost it. So all of that is going to happen when the page is finished loading. That's what this is doing here. We're saying when the page is totally done, our visual editor changes have been applied. In other words, this container now exists on the screen. When that is all finished, let's just run this code. So it starts at the top again, of course, and runs through here. And that's it. And the final result for that is that you will get a flyout menu, and you'll be able to see related records on your screen. So hopefully this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please reach out to our technical support team. Thanks for watching.